Welcome to This Explainer. If you're the kind of person who just loves getting completely lost in a great story, stepping directly into the landscapes that inspired classic novels, or even learning the craft of writing from the best in the business, well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're breaking down the incredible, totally immersive experiences waiting for you in Dorset at the 2026 Sturminster Newton Literary Festival. We're going to explore the amazing guided landscape walks, the hands-on writing workshops, and a spectacularly diverse lineup of author talks. So let's get started.
Okay, let's dive right into this. What could Thomas Hardy, Elvis Presley, and Cleopatra possibly have in common? I mean, on the surface, absolutely nothing. But this year, the stories of these vastly different historical figures are all converging in one beautiful English town. Running primarily from June 5th to the 19th, the 2026 festival brings together classic literature, modern historical fiction, and these genuinely fascinating true stories, all under one banner.
Section 1. A Deep Literary Heritage. The idyllic home of literary giants. To really get why this festival is just so special, we first have to understand the ground it's built upon, Sturminster Newton. Tucked right into the heart of the beautiful Blackmore Vale, this isn't just a picturesque field to pitch a few event tents in, it's a historic town steeped in rich, deep literary connections that go back generations. When you see these gorgeous vintage editions, it's a great reminder of how this town served as the stomping ground for true local legends. The renowned poet William Barnes, for example, was born right in the neighboring village of Begburh and grew up exploring Sturminster. He's famous for writing in the traditional Dorset dialect. And then, of course, we have another absolute giant of literature who found his muse here, the great Thomas Hardy. Hardy actually lived in Sturminster Newton for 2 years with his new wife, Lavinia. He rented this pretty pink house called Riverside Villa, and he famously described the location with one single powerful word: idyllic. He actually called those 2 years some of the happiest of his entire life. In fact, he wrote The Return of the Native right there, and the surrounding Blackmore Vale serves as the stunning backdrop for Tess of the D'Urbervilles. The town even shows up on his fictional map of Wessex under the name Store Castle.
Section 2. Guided landscape walks. Step into the stories.
That incredible history means we don't just have to read about these places, we can physically immerse ourselves in them. Now, what's really interesting here is how the town's geography itself literally becomes an interactive literary playground during the festival. The very streets, churches, and inns of Sturminster Newton are woven directly into the narratives of Hardy, Barnes, and Robert Young. You're not just attending an event, you are walking through a living, breathing storybook.
And the timeline of these guided walks really offers something for every mood. On June 9th, you can take a walk through the darker side of town with Lee Cooper's Death in Store. If you'd rather explore Hardy's inspiration, you can join the June 12th meandering walk at the southern edges of Marnhall, which is the real-life location of Marlott, where Tess of the D'Urbervilles grew up. And then on June 13th, local writer Catherine Speakman leads this gentle walk through Stourton Condell, weaving together medieval history, literary connections, and local folklore right there in the fields and lanes. Section 3. Hands-on Writing Workshops. Hone your craft. But what if you want to actively create art rather than just consume it? Well, these interactive workshops offer an incredible emotional range, and this brilliantly illustrates the depth of experiences available for aspiring writers. On one hand, you have Fiona Benson's profoundly deep Poetry of War session happening on July 12th, where she facilitates poetry creation specifically with people from Ukraine and their host families. Contrast that with Elizabeth DeLoe bringing a grounding environmental focus on June 7th. Her Writing Nature workshop guides participants through exercises to explore their connection to the natural world. It's a beautifully stark contrast in creating art from very, very different human experiences. Section 4. Diverse Author Talks. From Cozy Crime to Ancient Queens. Which leads us to a rather provocative question. Where is the absolute best place in Dorset to dump a body? Okay, scratch that. Don't worry, we are not planning anything nefarious. This is actually exactly the kind of thrilling, tongue-in-cheek question posed at the West Country crime panels taking place at the Exchange. Dorset has long been this amazing inspiration for murder mysteries, drawing incredible local crime authors to the festival. You've got best-selling author Rachel McLean discussing plot development, and yes, Dorset body-dumping locations for her books. Tess Burnett dives into her 18th century Dartmoor mystery, while Faith Eckersall explains how her career as a local news reporter inspired her humorous, cozy crime novels.
but the absolute standout has to be best-selling true crime author Mark Bridgman. He is hosting a Silence in Court interactive event where you, the audience, literally become the jury for an infamous real-life Dorset murder trial. How cool is that?
Beyond the local mysteries, let's move on and see how this builds into an incredible journey through time. Our historical fiction talks span centuries. On June 6th, Natasha Solomons retells the epic legend of Cleopatra. By June 10th, Jonathan and Kristen Hainsworth take us to 18th century England to learn about the Shakespeare Ladies Club, a real group of women who essentially rescued the Bard from 17th century cancel culture. Then, on June 13th, acclaimed author Tracy Chevalier explores the world of 15th century Venetian glassmakers, drawing a fascinating parallel to Sturminster Newton's own famous suffragist stained glass artist Mary Lawrence. And the nonfiction talks are just as gripping, offering breathtakingly global perspectives. You have Lorraine Gibson exploring Elvis Presley's Vegas jumpsuits and Memphis roots. Next to that, you get the intense physical reality of Jessica Hepburn climbing Mount Everest and swimming the English Channel. Then we pivot to the harrowing, real-world events covered by Penn Farthing, discussing his dramatic 2021 animal rescue during the evacuation of Kabul, and artist George Butler, who slows down our relentless digital news cycle by literally drawing in global conflict zones. It's this beautifully expansive worldview brought right to the heart of Dorset.
Section 5. Planning your visit. Your complete Dorset getaway. Now that we've covered all these amazing events, how do you actually get there and where do you stay? Sturminster Newton isn't just a quick day trip, it really is a complete getaway package. The region offers varied lodging options to fit pretty much any vibe you're looking for. You can stay right in town at the Old Bank, cozy up in the Stables Holiday Cottage, enjoy a traditional pub atmosphere at the Saxon Inn over a nearby Blandford Forum, or even immerse yourself in the gorgeous Dorset countryside at Stock Gaylord Glamping. So the crucial point is making sure you actually secure your spot. This breakdown lays out exactly where to get your day passes and individual tickets. You can book everything easily online via TicketSource from the comfort of your home. If you happen to already be in town, you can head over to 1855 at the Market Cross, or just visit the local box office at the Exchange, which conveniently also happens to be the main venue for many of the talks and performances we've discussed today. We've covered the historic landscape walks, the engaging hands-on workshops, the incredible variety of authors, and exactly how to plan your trip. Now I'll leave you with this final thought. When you visit, will you use all this inspiration to write the next great Dorset novel yourself, or will you simply sit back, relax, and enjoy the stories? Either way, the 2026 Sturminster Newton Literary Festival promises an unforgettable experience. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy reading!